I've been talking to you, connecting with you for the past year and a half now. We're part of the Fire Circles, and yeah, just wanted to learn a little bit more about who you are as Daniel, as Dante, as a mindful self-compassion coach, and what is this whole work about? What's your journey been? What made you, Daniel? What made you who you are today?
I'll give you the short version because it's a loaded question. I am just like you. I am just like anyone else. I am a man who has struggled, who has joys, who has wonderful relationships. I'm a man that, I'll put it to you this way, from an early age, I received the messaging to always listen to your heart, always let it follow you. And I've never let go of that messaging, ever. And I feel everyone has that as well. That voice inside of them that guides them, that says yes or no. And for a long time, I didn't listen to it and created a life out of what I thought I should be like, what people wanted from me, not what my heart wanted from me. And well, the great thing about that is when you are in integrity with your heart, you struggle. And it manifests as suffering. And so I received different levels of suffering and struggle to try to wake me up. When I say wake me up, try to wake me up, I'm speaking to my heart's calling. So yeah, it's led me to a place where now I help people listen to the voice inside of them. And one really loud voice that people have is their struggle. It's not for nothing. You're struggling. Your suffering is not for nothing. And so I try to, and I invite people to offer an ear to the difficult parts of themselves, because there's buried treasure inside. Well, I leave that kind of right there. It's a big question you asked, and I wasn't sure.
We like to start with power here. Yeah, thank you so much. And I believe in this world right now, there's this constant thing regarding achieve something or be something somewhere versus listening to your own heart. And it's this paradigm or this paradox of, should you follow or listen to your heart, or should you follow what work, quote unquote? How do you listen to your heart now?
It's a funny thing. There's different ways, but I'll put it to you this way. You ever, this is as simple as I think I can put it. You ever go into a shopping store to buy clothes, and you can look at a piece of clothing and you're looking around, there's so much, and you're drawn to something. You can see yourself in those clothes, or you can feel a yes inside of you. All right. That's your heart there. Even for something as unimportant as clothing or that new thing you want. Or you meet a person and there's something about them that's just a yes. It's even sometimes when you hear a song and it's easy. You like it a lot. What I'm talking about here is there are already relationships in your life, even with things that you don't have a relationship with yet. But when the moment you look at them, there's a relationship of non-resistance where there's just a yes in your heart. And leaves falling off the tree, for instance. Okay. Many of you have no problem with a leaf falling off the tree. Yeah. And what I mean by that is leaves fall off the tree. You don't even think about it. You don't argue with it. Nothing. Your relationship to the leaf falling off the tree is peaceful. All right. I'm saying this because you already have relationships in your life that are peaceful. There's no resistance. This is called grace as well. They're easy to have. That is what I look for, or that's what I pick up when I meet people, when I buy things, when I am going to do something. I can feel a yes inside of me. It's the same reason why when I broadcast, some people stay in the broadcast and listen, and some people don't. Some people feel a yes. They see value. Some people don't, and they move on. All right. So I forgot your original question, but
so how do you listen to your heart? So you say it's like feeling lead, so it's seamlessly. Have you ever had sometimes, yes, that flowy sense and that leaves, but also fear.
Yes,
Where does fear play there?
Yes, that's a great question there, and that's something I talk about often. There's fear in your life. Fear. So I'll start with this. Fear is inevitable. Fear is built into your nervous system. It's going to come. Fear is also not personal. It's not your fear. It's just the fear. Many of us have fear, and we're saying, "I'm a bad person. I'm unlovable. There's something wrong with me. I'm broken." That's taking fear personal, and then building an identity around that fear. I did that for many years of my life. But fear is nothing. There's nothing personal about it. It's nature's protector. So if you can if you can hold fear like that objectively, right? And so what you're doing here is you're not beating yourself up. You're not becoming critical. You're not isolating yourself. You're not over-identifying fear. Instead, what you can do here is when there's fear in your life, you create a loving space around it. So you take care of yourself. Now, what happens when you start building a relationship with fear in this way? You start to learn about it. You start to become aware of nuances of fear. For instance, to answer your question, where there's a yes in fear and where there's a no in fear. So there are things in our life that we're scared to do. For instance, when I think about bungee jumping, there's fear there. There is no part of me that's a yes to that. I don't want to do it, not interested. But when I moved here to Texas, for instance, there was fear, right? It's the unknown, but there was a yes inside of that fear. And really understanding that difference between a yes in fear and a no in fear. And what this means is that fear at times is in the driver's seat. So when I think of bungee jumping, fear is in the driver's seat. It's a straight up no. Great. That's very appropriate for me for that.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. But
yes,
moving
like fear aligned with that yes in a way.
Yes. So moving to Texas, there's fear there, but it's not in the driver's seat. It's in the car, right? What's in the driver's seat is inspiration, is creativity, is wonder, is imagination. And so this is the relationship you have with fear. Sometimes you can be in the driver's seat. Sometimes it's just in the back. It's in the other seat of the car, but it is informative. It is letting you know that, hey, you're at the edge of your comfort zone here and new things are about to happen. You're about to grow and you're about to die. And parts of you are going to die. Old beliefs, it could be different paradigms that you've been living, thoughts. So fear is an ally. It just, again, it always comes down to what's your relationship with it.
Okay, powerful. Yeah, I love that. And there's a lot of ways of understanding fear. A really good anagram from fear is face everything and run. Fear everything and run, or face everything and ride. So if it's not in the driver's seat, it's just informative, but it shows you that you are growing. And maybe transitioning a little bit more, where does listening come? Where does fear come in the work that you do? In the container that you called mindful self-compassion. What would be first, and I would ask you first to define what is compassion and what's the difference between just compassion and mindful self-compassion?
Okay. There's a few questions in there. You asked about listening and fear, and then compassion and mindful self-compassion. I'll start with what is compassion, what is mindful self-compassion. If compassion was a question, it would be this: what do I need? If mindfulness was a question, the question is, what's here? So I'm a mindful self-compassion student and teacher. I teach people what's here and what do I need here? Okay. Now, mindfulness, how are they related? Mindfulness and self-compassion is that they do a dance together. Mindfulness gives us the ability to know that we're struggling, because we can't respond to struggle if we don't know that we're struggling. And there's times where we don't know we're struggling because we are so identified with the struggle itself.
It's like part of ourselves in a way.
Yes.
Like the struggle becomes part of me. I'm the guy that struggled.
Yes.
I'm the girl that struggled.
Yes. And you get wrapped up in all the emotions that go with it. But mindfulness has us take a moment and it's like, okay, what's here? What's alive in my heart here? So mindfulness gives us the ability to take a look inside. Self-compassion gives us the ability to respond to what's here. And there's different ways of doing that. But we're not going to want to look if we don't have the skills to respond. So this is how mindfulness and self-compassion work together here. And we can't respond if we don't know what's here. So they do this beautiful dance. They're like two wings of a bird here. So that's how they work together. And there's a lot of different practices of mindfulness, of self-compassion.
And do you think that the listening to your heart and the being with the fear are like essential cores of a mindful self-compassion practice, or where do those play in? Because there were two topics, so I shift topics, but how do we join them together?
Great. So what is the question it comes down to is, what do most people struggle with? And you would say they're difficult emotions, but your difficult emotions like sorrow, rage, grief, jealousy, bitterness, resentment, they all boil down. If you were to put them in a hot pot, it would boil down to fear. And so again, it comes back to that question of, well, what's my relationship with fear here? Now, the listening part that you asked. Listening is a skill. It truly is. And I never thought about it. I thought I was listening well, but I wasn't. And what gets in the way of listening? An agenda. Having an agenda towards something or somebody gets in the way of your ability to deeply listen. For instance, if you Astro if you had something I wanted, let's say you had, I don't know, a new car that I wanted, right? And you were my boss, right? I'm going to come to you and probably say and do things, act in a certain way, show up in a certain way in order to acquire that car from you if I wanted it. So now our interaction becomes my agenda. And then you come to our interaction with an agenda as well. Maybe it's to get me to work harder, inspire me. So here we are, two people with different agendas trying to get different things from each other, right? When we have those agendas in mind, we're missing out on everything else that is occurring between like what's happening, what's really happening with you, what's really happening with me. We don't have the ability. So for instance, if you were actually really upset about something as well, right, there's going to be nuances. There's going to be little signs that you're upset, and I'm going to look right past them because I'm trying to get something from you. And this is something we all commonly do. We walk around every day, go up to people with an agenda in our minds. We either want their time, their money, their approval, their respect. We want to show them how right we are. We want to show them how smart we are, right? All these little things that we want from other people that we're not even conscious of. And they're guiding the way that we pay attention, the way that we listen. And so we're not really there. We're not really seeing each other. And we do this with ourselves too. We're usually trying to acquire something. Always like, okay, I gotta get that, I gotta get that, I gotta get that, I get that. And the core of many people's struggle and suffering is their inability to listen to what's here and to respond to it because they're out here. So when I ask, well, what's your relationship with fear? For many people, when they feel discomfort here and it boils down to fear, there's an ambitiousness already that says, I don't want to feel this way. I need to do something about this. I want to get rid of this. And instead of responding and going to what's here, we go and try to change the circumstances of our life. We try to change reality outside of ourselves, but we don't try to change ourselves in our relationship here. And so what inevitably happens is you're going to repeat different type of circumstances and situations because this is trying to get your attention. And so when we learn to adjust our attention here, when we do that, that's where mindful self-compassion comes in. And that relationship with the self starts blossoming. But the last thing I'll say here around this is, for now, is that listening is how we engage love. That listening is the first responsibility of love. If you want to show someone that you love them, what do? You listen. It's an active component of love. If you want to care for yourself, what do? You have to listen to yourself first. You have to look inside. What do I need right now? What does support look like for me? And listen. So listening is crucial. And I'm not sure how good of listeners we are anymore.
How do you start the process of listening to yourself?
Yeah, beautiful question. Well, so you start, and it's as simple as this. You start with an intention to listen. Just an intention is enough. If I wanted my day to be a little different, if I wanted to be a better listener, I can say this to myself. If I knew I was going to meet with you later today, and I want to hear Astro, I want to know who he is. There's my intention already. right? That already will have me listen differently because now well, what's behind this man's heart? What is he really trying to say here? Just an intention is enough because your intention sets up the way that you pay attention.
And what will be the difference between an intention and an agenda? Because the agenda prevents us from listening, whereas the intention, you say, it guides us to listen.
What's the difference? That's a great question because I could see how, well, my intention is to deeply listen. Well, what I see here is like with an intention like that, there's like an opening up to what's in front of me, right? I'm open to all outcomes that are coming in here. Whereas an agenda, I'm focused and closed on one set of outcome here. So my vision and my ability to listen is narrowed. Whereas an intention to deeply listen, it's opened up to everything that you are bringing forth. And you can do this with yourself. But the intention, there's this wonderful saying, it says, I think I have it right here. I said where attention goes, energy flows. Where your attention goes. So if I usually say your attention is a superpower. It's like a flashlight, right? But the batteries for that flashlight are your intentions, right? So if I have an intention to deeply listen, I'm going to pay attention to you in a way that's very open and receiving to hear you. And it's still a hard thing to do because what's going to happen when you have an intention to deeply listen, you're going to start to see the things that get in your way of deeply listening. If I started talking to you with that intention, I'm going to notice, oh, there's some emotional interference that's coming up inside me. Now I can't really listen to you. Or some thoughts are going to come in. Now I can't really listen to you. Or if you say something that triggers me, right? Oh, now that's where my attention's going. And so it's almost like a meditation here. Because when I set an intention to deeply listen, I'm going to see all the things that pull me out of it as well. And so to practice this, it really, like, you want to intentionally practice with someone. Let's intentionally practice deeply listening to each other and speak to the things, like, let's pause and go slow. I need a moment. I've lost contact with you. Can you imagine what would happen if we had the intention to deeply listen, especially when you were in an argument with someone? It would change the whole dynamic.
World peace in a couple of days, really possible. I love this. Just setting an intention. Do you have maybe like examples of setting an intention for the day, setting an intention for the moment? Like, what would be the best way? Because someone says, okay, I want to set an intention. How do I do it? How do I set an intention?
Well, as far as like how to do it, you can just speak it out loud. But I think what you're saying is, well, what intention should I set? And I love this one. And it's so simple. Start with an intention of curiosity. Lead yourself with curiosity here, right? So, because curiosity it's a door opener, curiosity. Even when someone like is mad and angry, can you imagine if you brought curiosity to that? Well, what's going on? What's here? Why do you feel that way? Right? Seek to understand than to be understood. That's one of my intentions, especially when I am in a heated argument or when I'm uncomfortable. But an intention of curiosity, care, and interest. Those three things, but start with curiosity and just watch how there's already you can feel a softening already towards the things that you're moving towards in your life daily. It's no longer like when you lead with curiosity, what are you not doing? You're not judging, you're not criticizing, you're not condemning. Instead, you're, well, what's this? What's here? What do you mean by that? And you see how your own judgments and criticisms and stuff weren't even valid at times. So an intention of curiosity, I would say, start with.
Wow. Love it, bro. So tell us, how could people reach you? How could people work with you? Before we end it off in a little bit, what are you offering right now to people, or how can people find you?
Yeah, I'm mostly on the platform TikTok. I used to be on here, but I moved to TikTok about probably like 6-7 months ago. Under the I work under the pseudonym Dante Alive, and I broadcast almost every day for over an hour, probably sometimes 3 hours, because there's a lot to talk about. And I offer on the broadcast live coaching. I share the teachings, wisdoms, and learnings that I'm picking up. I'm a student as well on there. And then you can work with me one-on-one. I have clients right now that I work with for 12 weeks at a time, and I teach them the skills of mindful self-compassion, how to turn towards their struggle and to open up towards it, how to listen lesson on there. It's transformative. This work has changed my life. And I'm very excited to keep growing, keep moving towards it, to keep connecting. And one of the things also that just really inspires me is building community. The reason why I've created my container on TikTok and why I do this work is because I realized that I needed a container to express what I've been suppressing. There's so many standards and conditionings that we go into. Every container you go into, whether it's gym or work or your household, right? There's all these standards and conditionings to how to behave in order to receive safety, love, and connection. And so I realized, like, wow, I'm going into all these places with all these standards, but there's parts of me that aren't still being expressed. Where's my container for my standards, my conditions? And I was like, well, I want to create that. Give what you want to receive. You know that one, right?
Yes, yes.
And so I created the container on TikTok Live, and people come in and discover what it is. They hear me speaking about the emotions and how to navigate our emotional landscapes there. And for some people, it's like, what is this? Right? And they're like, oh, wow, you're saying what I'm feeling. I didn't know that. How do they? Isn't that amazing when you can hear something or you can feel something is true, but you've never heard it before? And this is what I mean by your heart's language here. Listening to your heart here. You can find me on TikTok, and you can work with me on that. You can work with me on there.
Awesome, brother. One final message. If you were gonna write in an emerald tablet a message to the world, what it would be?
Oh, easy. It's a question. What's alive in your heart? And you let that question sit on there.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Guys, find him on TikTok. This will also be on YouTube. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your energy.
Pleasure.
Learned so much today. Talk to you later, bro.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.